So then when they come back in for a cast change a week later, you cut it off or you pull it off? Or what do you do?
You can pull it off. You can unwrap it.
Okay.
So one of the things I do is, it depends on how often someone's coming in. Depends on the protocol book that you're looking at, but really honestly it just depends on that person and what they want, right? So if they're a workers' comp, they're usually coming in 2 to 3 times a week. A lot of times they're going to need to come back, honestly, because it's so difficult to make and it's so uncomfortable. Right? They're always complaining about something, I promise. So you kind of almost want them to come back so you can inspect it, make sure they have it on. And then you just want to make sure that because as soon as you see them, you're going to see that they didn't follow what you're telling them to do, because it's so difficult, right? So you can make sure that you, if they look good, then you could leave it alone, and then just make sure you work into PIP flexion, right? So it might be like a relatively quick visit, but it's still a visit. But I'm going to tell you that a lot of times these things are kind of problematic, and so you want to monitor them at the beginning. It's always monitor them at the beginning, because if I can't get you to where you need to be, then I might make different recommendations, right? So if you fail within the 6 to 8 weeks and you're not stiffening up and this is not working, you might need to consider surgery, right? So there's that type of complication. What you're looking for is a lag. So they're normally splinted for a certain amount of time. And then the second thing is, once you're about 6 to 8 weeks, you can start active range of motion. And what you're looking for is, how bad is that lag? How bad is that extensor lag? Normally speaking, it's normal to have about a 10-15 degree lag. A 10 or 15 degree lag is really like considered successful, right? Because you can have surgery and still have that same lag. Your most important thing when working with a mallet finger, honest to God, is what you say to people when they first come in. Like, I'm gonna tell you honestly, this type of injury might look really small, but it's honestly one of the most difficult injuries to work with, right? You say that from the get-go and you keep repeating yourself. They're gonna be so frustrated that they think that this is the smallest injury, and why does it have to take so long? And so one of the things that you could say to them was, well, you know what happens with that tendon, it's the smallest little itty bitty tendon. It doesn't have its own muscle. Like if you cut a tendon over here, or you cut a big tendon over here, it has its own muscle and it has a big tendon. So I always compare it to the extensor here. I say, see, look how big that tendon is, and it has its own muscle, and then it becomes big tendons. And that's what makes your big knuckles move so much. The one that you broke, right? The one that you hurt, even though it's like, oh, it's just my little knuckle, whatever, that doesn't have its own muscle belly. It actually doesn't even have its own tendon. It's made up of the big tendon that came divided and became a medium, and now gave me a little piece to be right here, right? So I do explain a little bit of anatomy, saying it's the smallest, weakest piece of tendon that can't move by itself. It has to rely on other tissues to move well, and because it's broken, now we have to like put your finger like this so that it will kind of reattach itself to the bone, and we have to wait for the scar. So if you can't keep that finger there, and every time it falls, we're starting all over again. So this is one of the reasons why I need you to make sure that you keep it on. And when you do take it off, you can't let it fall. So you have to teach them how to take it off, hold their finger, or At home, you take a piece of tape, put it there, right? That way it doesn't fall, because as soon as it falls, it's like we're starting all over again, right? The stiffer it is, the better it is, right? If you take it off and it falls, then that has actually, you know, kind of stopped us. So usually by 4 weeks, we should be able to see, did it get stiff? So when you take it off, and you take it off without gravity, right? So this, if gravity pushed this down like this is gravity eliminated. If you take it off like this and gravity pushes down, and you take it off here and it's already fallen, like, it's kind of failed, right? It's kind of failed. So, but you want to always explain not just how difficult this case is, but that 10 degrees to 15 degree lag is normal for this type of injury. And then the only thing that you don't want it to progress to is the finger to look like this.